Seacoast. This is Lloyd Miligan here in South Carolina. I'm sorry my wife Ruth can't be with me today, but we want to thank you for 40 years or more of partnering with us in our work with Wycliffe Bible Translators. And I'd like to show you what some of that work was like over our last 40 years. Did you know that there are over 7,000 languages spoken in the world? And 700 of them are spoken in Papua New Guinea. Ruth and I met and got married in Dallas, Texas in 1980 and trained with Wycliffe to become translators in Papua New Guinea. We ended up serving in the Munsing language group, which is where this red box is here on the island of New Britain. When we first went to the village, 100% of the houses were all built completely out of bush material and had to be rebuilt every 7 years or so because the bugs would eat them. But nowadays, the houses are more permanent with metal roofs and sawn timber. And the church is beautiful too. Over the years, this was our house and we had to expand it because when we first went, we didn't have any children and we had 4 children and we ended up raising in the village during our 18 years in Papua New Guinea. It rains over 400 inches of rain a year in Lavege village. So we had to learn the language. And so we would sit down and write down words and point at things and figure out and learn the Munsing language, learn its grammar and its vocabulary. We were able to develop an appropriate alphabet for them, and we developed literacy materials to help them learn how to read and write their own language. Often, it only takes one day to teach someone to read and write when they have the proper alphabet for their language. Back in those days, there were no personal computers, so all of our translation work had to be done by hand. But fortunately, it was only a couple of years later that the first PCs came out, and we were able to continue our work using PCs. The most wonderful day in our lives was July 1st of 2000 when the Munsing New Testament was dedicated in the village. There were over 3,000 guests who came to celebrate. It was just so awesome to see people so excited about having God's word in their own language. After we returned to the States and were working from the US, we had the opportunity to go back to Papua New Guinea a number of times, and we led college and high school students into the village so they could spend time really seeing what Bible translation was like. After we came home, I was involved in different kinds of training of recruiters, training at Christian colleges, but my favorite sort of training was going back to Papua New Guinea and training national translators to translate their own language and so that they could put the New Testament in their own languages. Ruth was also involved in training. Every few months, she would go down to Wycliffe and train new Wycliffe members in the policies and practices of Wycliffe. After I got out of training, I was able to work in consulting, and my favorite consulting was helping Hobson in Lavege village translate the Old Testament into Munsing. There's several books that have been finished, but there's still a long way to go, and we would appreciate your prayers for Hobson and that continued work. A couple years ago, we discovered that Ruth has Alzheimer's disease, and it's been progressing probably for about 4 years now. And so last June, the end of June, we decided it was time for us to retire from Wycliffe, mostly so I would have freedom to take care of Ruth and see her needs as her Alzheimer's disease progresses. So Seacoast family, thank you so much for being a part of our lives all these years. And I pray that you will find another translation project to be involved in. God bless you.